Welcome back to the Union Show. I'm Casey Dickey. Deborah Waddell talks to the Australian Licensed Aircraft Engineers Association Secretary, Steve Purvinas, about the Qantas engineers' pay dispute.
As Qantas continues to make record profits, its engineers have begun a series of strikes over unfair pay. The dispute is expected to continue for some time as Qantas chiefs are not willing to negotiate.
We've been in a pay dispute with Qantas Airways for the last 18 months. Our guys haven't had a pay rise for 2.5 years. We're seeking wages to increase by 5% per annum. Qantas has said 3%. We've been negotiating for 18 months. The airline come along to the first meeting and said it's 3%, take it or leave it. We had our 40th meeting with them a week and a half ago, and they said it's 3%, take it or leave it. Our members find this unacceptable when inflation sits at 4.3% per annum. Over the past 10 years, our guys have had an average wage increase of 1.7% per annum, and this includes a period through 9/11 where our engineers said that they were happy to take an 18-month wage freeze in order to help the airline get through the difficult times. And in return, we expect when an airline's about to announce its record profit of $1.4 billion, that our engineers get some of that money back in return. Qantas have said anything more than a 3% pay rise, the 5% that we're seeking, if it flowed on to every employee in the company, that is 38,000 employees, it would cost them $360 million over 3 years. Now, it's pretty easy to work out. That's $120 million a year invested back into your workforce against the backdrop of a $1.4 billion profit. That's an 8% reinvestment in Qantas's staff. We don't think that that would be too unreasonable to give that back to the employees that made the company what it is today. The difference between a 3% increase and a 5% increase worked out on probably a typical salary of $100,000 would be $2,000 a year. It's not really too much to ask for when you have a look at Qantas managers, particularly the boss of engineering and maintenance, who received a 50% pay rise last year alone, from $1.2 million a year to $1.8 million a year. I don't think it's too unreasonable for our members to receive an extra $2,000 to put in their fuel tanks. We've seen Qantas cry poor many times over the years, and in this particular occasion they're saying fuel prices are up, the oil's gone through the roof. Well, fuel prices have also gone up for our members. When they put fuel in their car and their wives' cars, they also have to accommodate for the rising cost in fuel. And this all goes in with the inflationary arguments. But the thing that Qantas are able to do to buffer that is they increase their fuel excise. Now, we've had a look at their overseas airfares. They've had a 33% increase in the past 12 months to airfares, and 30% of that is made up from fuel excise. Our members don't have the opportunity to do that. The aircraft engineers out at Qantas start at a wage of $53,500 a year, and that goes up to the mid-90s. They do get additional payment on top for shift penalties or for overtime that they work, but that's where their basic wages sit at the moment. It's a long road to become a licensed engineer. I mean, you firstly have to complete a 4-year apprenticeship, and then you have to sit approximately 25 exams before you can pre-qualify to become a licensed engineer. And then you have to do an intense 3 or 4 month course and pick up 1,000 hours worth of experience. In my case, over the course of a career that lasted 18 years as an aircraft engineer, I sat over 150 exams. So it's not something that you can train up for overnight. In the movie Rain Man, Dustin Hoffman refused to get on any airline apart from Qantas, and that wasn't because he thought that the Qantas managers had some really good strategies for sustainable futures. It was about the engineers and pilots who gave the airline that reputation in the first place. We like to think that we've structured our campaign in a responsible way. I mean, we've got some rolling stoppages around the country, but predominantly in Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne, the larger bases. We're not taking out all of our engineers at any one point in time. We're taking out a quarter of the guys here, half the guys there, so that we've still got engineers on the tarmac. This isn't about disrupting services. This is about causing havoc for Qantas's maintenance scheduling. That is what takes place behind the scenes. And yes, in the long run, it will disrupt services because aircraft will have too much a backlog of work for them to fly, but it does allow Qantas some period of time, a month or so, where they can come back to the negotiation table and hopefully start talking real wage rises for our members. We've got 1,500 members who are licensed engineers working for Qantas at the moment, and I think out of 1,500 members, 1,498 of them are 100% behind their union. When the ACTU first stepped in, some of our members were a little bit sceptical about it. Some were saying that the Labor Party have come in to try and see the union restrain their wages claims. Other members who were maybe sitting on the other side of the spectrum thought that the ACTU were there to make sure that every Qantas employee got the same pay rise and we were fighting the battle for them. Look, both of those things are completely untrue. ACTU have been nothing but 100% supportive with us organising meetings, organising press and whatever else it's taken for us to press for our wage claims with the airline.
Give me a ticket for an aeroplane. Ain't got time to take a fast train.
Qantas management is due to meet with ALAEA again this week.
Qantas management have been pretty pig-headed about this. They've said 3% and that's all they've done over a period of 40 meetings. We don't expect them to move in a hurry, but our members are in this for the long haul. We haven't structured our campaign in a way that our guys are sitting out on the grass now wondering how to feed their families. As far as we're concerned, our guys can just quietly plod away, follow our instructions, and we'll have some stop work meetings here and there, and we'll undoubtedly have our members have 4 hours out of their pay one pay week and maybe not the next, but we are in this for the long term and it could take several months.